Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this month's meeting. I'll be the one presenting today, and I'm really excited because it is something that I even won. I won an award. Unfortunately, they didn't give me money, but it's still everything aside from money. It ticks. I got a recognition. It's a big deal. It's something that I'm very proud of. So I'm going to demo it to us. So today's session is a demo of Microsoft Fabric Translytical, right back to DB from Power BI report. And I'm going to, let me see if I can go put my daughter in a different room. She is really shouting now. Okay, I'm back. Yeah, I hope that what I did works. So this is the agenda. We are right now in the introduction part, and since I'm done presenting, I'm not going to, I will try to spend more time on the actual demo and walk you through as much as possible. Okay, so how many of us have heard of Translytical? If you have, can you maybe like indicate in chat, maybe type yes? Okay, but if you have not, you're in the right place. Okay, and to also let you be aware, we have a session for next month that I'm going to even do a lot more publicity for that, because now I'm seeing that because I didn't do so much publicity for this particular, usually when I have external presenters, I try to do a lot more publicity because we don't want a situation where they join and they don't get enough people. But when I'm the one presenting, I'm like, it's me. Even when we started, there are meetings where it was just one person, and I will still do this session because it's more about the habits. You don't want to make it dependent on who shows up in the session. And most times it's the sessions where we have fewer live members. Those are the sessions I noticed that when we put up the recording, a lot more people watch. So it's for me, I sometimes don't bother to do too much reminders and publicity. But for these, I have to. So me too, Taylor will be presenting next month. I'll be presenting on Copilot Studio and Azure AI Foundry. I think everybody should be interested in that. Even if you're not going to use Microsoft AI platform, you want to be aware of what is there in the industry. Want to be aware of what other people are doing, because that knowledge we will find practical and something that might help you to do something that is more relevant to you. So a bit about me. Today I changed up the slide I use for the speaker profile. So I'm the founder and lead consultant at MHS Analytics Inc. We're based out of Canada. I'm also a Power BI developer and data engineer. Actually, that's this lead consultant. This is what I do for my major client here in Canada. And I'm a Microsoft MVP. Sometimes people get it mixed up. They're like, "What is MVP?" It's a recognition and also a program by Microsoft that gives insider access. And for me, that insider access is a big deal, and access to a lot of things. And we are expected to be always abreast of what's the latest and all of Microsoft's plan regarding the product group we are MVP in. So for me, I'm MVP for Excel and data analytics actually. So that's why I'm always presenting about all these topics, because I'm aware of what Microsoft is doing in the AI, BI, data analytics space. Right now, I am pivoting to building more of AI agents and then positioning for the AI engineering. Today, I was speaking with someone, and he was like, "Oh, I see you do a lot more of AI. What's the what's the strategy?" And you know what I told him? I said, when I started, Excel, Access, they were the main thing in data analytics. SQL, I even did Oracle, 10G, but truthfully for me, when I was working on with clients and projects, it was mostly Access, Excel, VB I was using. And then a few years back, 2015, Power BI came, Tableau came up. much earlier, but then Power BI for me, because that was what I focused more on, uh, came on the scene 2015. And by 2016, 17, I had switched from using mostly Excel and macro to now using mostly Power BI for my clients. And I think right now, Power BI and the traditional BI has become Excel, and AI is now the new BI. So that's the way I explained to him that I need to switch again because otherwise I'm going to be in a situation where, some months, max some years from now, the way people treat Excel is the way we're going to treat BI, and the way we now currently treat BI is how we're going to treat AI. Companies don't engage consultants for Excel. At least the kind of companies I consult for, they are not going to engage you really for Excel. They expect that the internal staff can do whatever they needed to get done with Excel. What is more strategic, what they engage client consultants for right now is BI. I'm guessing in some months' time, max a few years' time, it will be AI they will be looking for strategic consultants for and expecting that the BI part, internal team can handle it either using existing internal tools or AI too anyway. So I'm a workaholic. I enjoy traveling, hiking, motorcycling. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm going to share my LinkedIn profile later on. So let's talk about the main thing. The slide I started, I'm right now in the content. There's going to be some presentation before we dig into the demo live. So what's the business need for Translytical? Why am I bringing this up as something I feel everybody should be aware of and should begin to explore, especially if you use Microsoft Power BI? So Translytical is feeling this business need. Over my started data analytics in 2011 and I started the BI part of it in 2014 to be frank because Power BI used to be a set of tools that were add-ins on Excel and were already available, earlier than 2015, and also Power Query brought a bit of BI into the platform that I was using. So over the 10 plus years that I've been doing this for different clients, different geographical regions, I found that managers, they want to always annotate reports. They want to always reflect the same way they make presentations. That's the thing that makes PowerPoint building to management people, and they always eventually at board meetings have PowerPoints prepared. It's because they can, before the meeting, add their own annotation, add comments, take what they've gotten from other business team members, and add what they are only aware of or knowledge that cannot be sourced out of data. And so I've seen that a lot with finance teams. There's a big client that I'm not allowed to mention their name that I'd worked with about 2 years ago, and it was about their cash management dashboard, like cash position dashboard. It showcases their cash in bank, their next 30 days, in fact, the end of next month kind of forecast, tracking their receivables, payables, and what's in the bank, and commitments in terms of loan service and all those financial obligations. And the manager that I was working with, the treasury manager, said the CFO wanted to always also have some comments, reflected in the report that showcases what has happened right now this year. Maybe tariff would be the big thing. But then there were like things that it could be maybe some currency FX changes that just nobody expected. Maybe they were exposed to Japanese yen, or they have clients that are in some other geographical region, and the currency fluctuations regarding that region is something they want to reflect as affecting their cash position in their current currency of reporting. But the truth is that I've had people who they wanted to add comments on the fly on the report. And if you know Power BI, as a user, you cannot go and add anything on the surface. You have to give it to the report builder to find a way to put it, in the DB or put it in the data source and reflect it on the report. And so that has always been a problem because they want to do it quickly. It might just be while there are 10 minutes, 5 minutes to the presentation that they want to put in those comments, you know. So the same thing too, you know, I just put in different examples to make it relatable to different domains of audience that I have here. So the same thing for marketing managers, for sales managers, supply chain managers, HR managers, even tech managers, ICT managers who use Power BI for reporting of some things that are important to them. So the business need is more about having on the fly data. And I've also had situations where for modeling, maybe you're a production manager and you're trying to model your production, and maybe you're a finance or you're into the financial planning part and you want to be able to, or investment part, you want to be able to change interest rate, change some metrics on the fly and create scenarios. This also makes it possible. So you could go in there and type, what if we change our cost of capital to be 5%? What if the cap ratio, we increase it? So now it's, so then we used to use parameters to achieve that, but now you can actually make it native. They can add whatever they want. You don't have to create like a slide that they now drag or some, you know, less than natural way of making them put in those input parameters. So that's now possible now. Okay. And that's why I think people should be exposed to Translytical, because that's the natural way Microsoft is wanting us to effect those right on the report inputs gathering. You want your users to provide some input that that gets reflected within the report. Then Translytical becomes the native way to explore that. So because I'll try to provide all this slide, I don't want to talk too much on the slide. I know you're all more technical audience, so let's focus more on the doing part. Uh, so I can go outside and show you this particular report. The top. Okay. So this is the report I'm going to demonstrate to us. So I've got financials of different companies, and I can pick any company and add commentary. I'll tell you why this is rolling. You will see why, and it could be faster, but I'm a cheapskate. So I'm using a very low capacity fabric environment. So that's why, but it's not supposed to be this slow anyway. So this is supposed to show me all the companies. Great. I could pick a different company. Maybe I pick, again, I kind of use, I like to, as much as possible, put Nigerian data wherever I can. It's my own way of at least making people aware that we exist. Nigeria has done a lot for me in terms of I'm who I am because I'm from there, and I try to reflect my origin. So that's why I still keep using more of, data that I sourced out of Nigeria. So I pick a company. I could pick any financial metric. So let's leave it as revenue, and we want to reflect. Let's see. So this revenue, if you look at it, it's been going down, and so maybe you have some reasons that is exogenic, is something that is affecting. It could be a systemic issue that is beyond just the company, it's the industry. So you want the report consumers to be aware that, despite the fact that the company is not doing well, it's not all entirely the company's fault. It could be maybe at this particular company, I know why. At the global level, they decided to divest, so they sold their they're into drugs, GSK, right? I hope you know. So they do both just particularly medications, and they do beverages and some other things. So they divested their non-medication harm, and that's why revenue dropped. So, I could add it and say, revenue dropped due to sales of non drug business units. Okay. And once I had it, you will see it pop up here. So I click on add comment, and right there. Again, my environment is low because I'm on a very cheap fabric capacity. I only do this for demo, so I can't go put a capacity that is going to bill me excessively. But it's usually faster than this, I guess. Uh, so see, so these are the kind of things, you can take this much further. It could be instead of text comment, it could be enter an interest rate, uh, maybe a sales growth, enter something that flows back into the model to recompute the values. So now that you know what we are talking about, I'm going to walk us through let me go back to the slide and be sure I've walked through all of what I have on the slide so that I don't give you half of what I've prepared. Okay, great. The resources too, they are available. In fact, at this point, I better start giving you all the links. Otherwise, I'll forget. So I hope this is clickable. Okay, yeah, it's clickable. Yes. Which other link did I promise? I said I was going to give you my LinkedIn. Okay, so let me just do that. Then the link to next month's presentation. Let me also give all of that right away. Okay, so now that I've given the links, I can just walk through the slides and ensure that all of what I had prepared you have. So in the link I gave, you can access the reproductions guide of the entire demo I'm going to walk through. You can download the source file and all. And then I just mentioned that again, we won a contest based on this content I'm presenting. So I'm going to go straight into the demonstration. And so let's start with what's the source, right? So I've, in the link I provided, you can download the source file. So if you go straight to the bottom, you can download the source file. So this source file is this Excel file. It's got the companies and the data anyway that I'm using. Okay. So all you have to do for Translytical right now, there is kind of a rigid approach to getting it done. So to get it done, you require Fabric environment, not just Power BI. So you might have a Power BI workspace. Right now, anyway, there's only going to be Fabric workspace. Before there used to be, but I don't think you can buy a Power BI dedicated workspace, capacity anymore. It will always be Fabric. But just be aware that you're going to use more than just the Power BI part of Fabric. Okay, so I'll walk us through all of what we are going to use, but uh, so that you understand why I'm recommending that you even go through the content link. It's because you see the slides I did. This is the summarized version of that slide. This is the Excel file, so which I've shown. So I need to put the data in Lakehouse. I need to put it in Fabric storage. The DB has to exist in Fabric storage. So that's one of the limitations. Right now, you could call it a picture. If Microsoft does not try to change it, then it means they want people to use the entirety of Fabric. They don't just want you to have the DB outside of Fabric. But right now, I'll just say call it a limitation. So it is that the data that you're interacting with, this thing is writing back into a database. That database has to exist within Fabric, okay? So it means if I want to do this and I have data as I have currently stored in Excel, this is an extreme case because it's a demo. Most of you will have your data coming from some other enterprise storage to maybe SQL Server, Azure SQL, Postgre, MySQL, SAP, somewhere else. That can be a problem that you might now need to do something like what I'm going to show us. I had to use data flow. So you know what data flow is. You come in here, Say you want to create a data flow gen 2, and then for now, I'll just leave it, so that we'll focus more on the concept. And so I'm going to use this data flow to pull in the data and push it into a lakehouse storage within Fabric. In fact, I recommend putting it into a SQL destination, SQL table storage. Okay. So you see all of this now, where I'm going to now say I want to add data and then pulling data from the Excel. I import the Excel file. So again, anybody can do this. So I don't want us to do what you can do, but we do more of what is meaningful. So this is me already done that. I've done that, and you can see the code. If you want to do yours, you can like follow it, bring in, import the Excel, see the transformation. So I shared the M code that outputs exactly these transformed tables. So I now, from the Excel file that has just two tables, I now have three. So you'll be like, okay, how come I've got three? I've got the two tables you are seeing, metric and company metrics. Metric order is the way it arranges it. I want all the income statement items to be together, and I want all the balance sheet items to be together, and I want all the, you know, cash flow items to be together. So that's why I just have this. I don't, so it doesn't arrange A to Z. So that's the only reason for that. This one is the actual, you know, bill data that I want to reflect for analytics. Okay. So those are coming exactly as they are in here. The only thing I've had to do extra is create based on a dynamic table that is based on the companies that exist here. So right now, say we've got, I don't know, 40 companies. As you have more companies, I want a dynamic table that will capture the companies and metrics and allow you to add a comment. So that's why I needed to create a, a transformation to generate company comment table. Okay, so you can always look through these to follow through the steps I took. And then, so once you have this, what is the main reason for doing this is because the data flow gen 2 allows us to specify a destination. So this is the main reason I'm bringing the data in through here. And this data flow gen 2 allows you to connect to the data wherever it is existing. Maybe it's existing. Most of you will have your data already existing outside of Microsoft Fabric, because Microsoft Fabric is relatively new, right? So you must have had your system set up somewhere else, right? So could I make the screen bigger? Thanks. Let's see. Let me try. So I go to display. I'm using a giant screen, so I sometimes forget that it might not. Most of you will not be using the same size of. So let's see. So I'm gonna just go here and change the display. So I'm right now on this, right? Display 2. So I'm gonna change the scaling to say 250. Hopefully that should do it. Okay. Let me know if this is better, okay? And is it mine? Okay. To me, I think this is bigger for sure, but I just hope it is also like good enough for you if we need to. All right. So with this part done, the main reason is you would now use this to specify that you want it to put the data in a SQL database in Fabric. This is the golden destination if you want to use Translytical, just put it in SQL database within Fabric. Okay, so that's what I did. I'm not going to do this part again. So once I do that and you run, like save and run, it will do the transformation to push the data into the SQL database on Fabric. And so this is me already done with that. And if I go to, this is the table I pushed it into, you will see those three tables, reflected here. And so these are like the preparatory work. So once you have this now, you now have like the environment that is necessary for Translytical to work. This is the only type of DB, like a DB that exists in Fabric. That's the only one Translytical can write back to. Okay. So, and then you will now have to do one more major step. Well, maybe two more, but when I say major, I think this is the real major step. Create the actual user data function. So you might be, okay, what's user data function? It is, if you have used the Azure functions in Azure, then that is it. That's why it was easy for me, because the client I consult for, I already built them Azure functions, Python-based Azure functions there in my work. And so it was like, oh, this is everything. It's even a consumption type of Azure function. So uh, just to show you where you will find it, I'm just going to go back to the workspace, and then I'll say new item. And you can scroll down and search, but I know that if I type, function, it will come up, right? So I'm just going to pick user data functions. And because I'm going to show us how to write it, I'm not going to just bother changing this default. I'll just walk you through how to create it. Then we can step through the codes that I have created already. Because if I'm going to type it out, it makes no sense. I could as well just copy paste what I have already here. So I want to show you how you create it at first, and then, so it's creating right now. So when you create it, when you say you want to create a user data function, you pick it, this is what happens. It brings you to this blank, maybe we can call it canvas editor, and then it asks you create. I'm guessing they will put sample, more than one sample here. So that's why for now it's just got these over more samples, new function, and it will have this, I think it calls it Hello Fabric. Uh, I want it to load so that you see what it's like. So see, so it creates a function. It's Python based, but it's simple. It's um, it imports what you, well, for sure you need this. These other ones are based off if you're going to use them. Login is also just if you intend to, you know, send back some login information. But this for sure you need. So even if you are deleting other libraries, you will not want to delete these. And then this is, to me, I would say, usually I just edit this. I had a few more library, like in my case, I know, and most of you will want to actually use this to write back into a DB. So you might end up importing a PyODBC, so that way you're able to create a SQL database connection. And then you probably also want to change the function name. So you can rename it here, you rename it here. So whatever function you call it. So I would say, data engineers in Toronto Funk 1. You see that whatever I write is what shows up here, right? And let me just reduce this so that you can see the difference in the name. Okay. And if I want to create one more function, I can create as many functions as I need. So you might be like, oh, I know Python. So I come here, I say, okay, I want to create Calgary function. Now you will notice that unlike this, the function is not displaying here. Maybe it's going to also accept a name that is a string, and it will output another string, and then I just like return a string for now. So why do you think it's not showing up here on the Function Explorer? This is something I think I need to call out, because you have to consciously have it in mind, something you have to do, because this is in some ways just uh, peculiar to this environment. It is this. So this magic function, decorator, sorry, this decorator, we call it decorator. So this decorator is needed if you want to expose the function to the function explorer. And when I show us the Power BI side of it, when I show us the Power BI side of it, it is those functions that you expose to the function explorer that will show up here. God, should have. I didn't know he's going to ask me for login. Should have logged in before. I tried to log in on everything before the call, but I missed this one. Get my password out. Where's that my password? Microsoft. So, yes, copy password, paste password, sign in. And I have to look for my phone. We come to the fun word. And nowadays, Power BI can ask you this multiple times in a day. Okay, I hope now I'm in. And no, don't log into everything, just this. Well, what else have I not provided? Oh, God. Finally. So, it is, you see here, it will show me all the functions. Okay. Yeah, all the functions it can detect. The one we just created, I will show you this again, but I'm just trying to let you understand how this will eventually feed back into the Power BI development environment. So this is the one we just created, user data function 3, right? I can see it here because I'm logged in into the very same account that I'm using to create this, okay? So it makes sense. If I pick the user data function 3, it will show me all the functions that exist. Right now it's Hello Fabric. Hello, you might be like, oh, I've changed it. I need to publish. So if I publish what I've done, I will see those functions here. So now let's even do what I want to call up. I want this function that I've written to show up here. The way to make it is to add this decorator, and then it shows up here. So that's just the only thing I'll say you have to remember, and not just think, oh, I already know Python and I'm just going to do things the way I normally do. So, by the way, why this is because it says I'm not using it. So if I come in here and I reflect it here, you see it goes off. So this is just more like an editor kind of prompting. So I'm going to hit publish, and then you will see when I refresh this that I should see Toronto Foncon, Calgary Foncon. So hit publish. Okay, so I'm going to go back here. I'll pick a different function so that it will kind of trigger a reset, a different func 2. Okay, good. Then I'll go to the func 3. So that should force a refresh. Can you see? So you see how whatever you do here becomes visible. I know you might be like, how did I get here? I'm just showing you that there's a reason we are doing things the way we are doing it now here. And the reason is still tied back to Power BI, that is the consumption uh, platform, of the report. So now that you've seen that, I'm going to go to the one that I have done. Okay, so the one I have done already, that's this. So what I have done is, you can even see in my case, well, then I have to make a correction. I didn't even bother using the PyODBC. I used the native uh, Fabric way of pulling the connection. So I will show you how to do that. So in my own case, I'm just leaving. I deleted the other functions. I deleted what I didn't use eventually. So I ended up removing these and these, and I was left with just this, and I didn't bother typing this. So let's go here. So I left these. This is also already there by default. This is there by default. This is the one I say you have to put before your function. This is the one thing I needed to add again as a way to access a connection to the DB that I've created. So how do you achieve this? Let me show you even on the blank one. So you go to manage connections, and then you indicate that you want to add a connection to an existing database that you have set up in Fabric. So I click Add Connection. It shows me all the database I have. You can see it can connect to Lakehouse, Warehouse, SQLDB. Uh, I might have to refer you to the documentation, but somehow in my head, I think I read that Microsoft recommend that you should use SQL database. So I pick it, and then I say, this is what I want to have a connection to. And then it will generate an alias. This is what we really need anyway. So this alias, I have to copy it and remember. So I'm going to paste it here because I need it. Then in my own case, because I had to go copy the code, the format that Microsoft expects us to specify this. So that's why I have it here, but it's not because I knew upfront that that's the way to be. All I did was I looked into sample codes from Microsoft where they were also connecting to a database within Fabric, and I copied this particular, that particular code snippet into just, and I pasted, I deleted what they had in theirs, and I put the particular alias that mine is from this managed connection. So that was all I did. And then where it's supposed to be at. Okay. What did I do? Let's just back up a bit. Okay, great. Yeah, yeah. Control Y, Control Y. Can just paste it again. But anyway, you got the pattern. So once I did that, I can just like copy all of these and paste here. Okay. Oh, I see. This has to be for this. Okay. And then what else? Yeah, no, not a problem. Go here. So let's focus on the code so I don't keep trying to amend stuff that is not broken. So once I provided the connection string, then I started writing what I wanted. So I wanted the function to be insert comment. And like I told us, you can follow my guide here to tell my daughter to keep. Okay. So you can follow my guide here to see all of what I've done. So the code, I also left the code. You can copy paste and it will work. That's why I say the guide will allow you to reproduce what I've done, and then you can modify it to what's more relevant to you. But the pattern is similar. I provide the connection string because I'm going to use the connection. I provide the connection because I'm going to use it to create a cursor that will insert into the DB eventually. So I need to expose this connection back into my function. So that's this part. It will be a standard thing you will do for every function you do that needs to write back into the DB. Then I expect it to, when the user is calling it, when they click on the button on my Power BI report, it will pull up the metric ID. So the metric ID is every metric. These are the metrics: revenue, gross profit. I give them an ID, right? So it will pull the ID so that it knows exactly which one to insert the comment against. And so I provide a way for it to read it. When I get to the Power BI side, you will see how I achieve all of that. But it's not difficult. In fact, the Power BI side is is already what you know. There's nothing new. The only thing, that's why I say this is the major step, the fact that you have to create a function that will allow it to get these inputs. So the metric ID, the metric name. So the metric name in my is the It's just so that you get a notice anyway. I didn't even need the metric name if you ask me. I didn't really need it for the insert because the ID is going to be more dependable. But I use it to give a notice back to you so that you will know what was modified. Because if I give you and say, oh, metric ID 1002 was modified, you probably will not know which metric that is. So that's why I wanted the metric name. Then the company name similarly too, so that I'm able to you know, also provide you that info that for this company was modified. But this comment and this metric ID were what I needed for my SQL query. So if you see my SQL query here, update the database, the DBO schema, company comments table, set comment where the ID is equal to whatever metric ID. Set the comment to the comment that the user has typed into that box that we now click them add comment afterwards. Okay. So it's a very straightforward thing, but it's powerful because now the users can type in their familiar text box environment or familiar kind of like the way they do in Excel and other Power BI and other tools that they are familiar with. And then you are handling all of the internal plumbing. These triggers, pulling the data, pushes it into the DB, and then the DB is going to automatically reflect the data. We will do it in a way that is live connection. Actually, right now, this works only with live connection direct query. Okay. So this is it. Okay. Once you've done this, then all that is left is what I was showing here. You build your report as you would, then you have to do two more things. In fact, if I want to highlight the two more things you have to do, you have to control, control one, control two. So you have to add a box for input, a button to like click submit for the same way if you're using a web app, there will be somewhere you type and there will be a button you click to submit, right? These are the only two things. And truthfully, only one thing you'll be doing different because we all are familiar with the button concept. It's the same button that we've always been using in Power BI. So it's not like there's a new type of button. The only thing that is really new is that we now have some inputs that is not just anything you can use as the input. There are only four classes of visuals, four types of visuals that can do that action. And I think maybe that's why they've got this lightning icon on the upper left. So these are the only things you can use. I think, you can try to validate that, but from what I've read documentation wise, and if I'm remembering things correctly, these are the only ones that you can use to get inputs that can be read and exposed back to this our translytical function. Okay, so and there's a pattern. The text slicer is the one that is most convenient for text because it allows people to type in text directly. So that's what I've used. I use the text slicer. I put the text slicer. So once you put the text slicer, then what you would have to do is you will go to general, right? You will turn on title. You will give it a title. In fact, let me show you why you have to do that. Uh, in fact, let's create this all over sort of so that it's kind of makes sense somehow. So I'm going to turn off what I did. I'm going to reduce the height of this so that I have some space. I need space to do this. So I'm just going to reduce its height. I'm going to add the, you can add any of these, but I know that the text slicer is the only one that allows users to type whatever they want directly. So it's natural for comment and text inputs. So I bring this right. Then I'm going to bring in a button for submit. Okay, button that I clicked on it. Huh? Okay, this is the button. Okay, so let's see how we're going to configure all of this. In the text, I can put a placeholder, expand all. I can put a placeholder and say, enter your desired comment. Okay, shows up as placeholder. They click inside, they start typing, it disappears. Okay, so that's quite self-explanatory. Then this is important. It looks trivial, but you will just, I think they need to design this properly to not make this step I want to show a mandatory thing, but you are going to just be like guessing what have you done wrong. Things will not work well if you don't do this step. That looks very simple. You need to name the inputs visual. You need to give it a name. And when I say give it a name, you need to go to title, give it a name, even though I don't want the name to display. So I'm going to call this Toronto so that you will know it's what we created right now. But you see, when I give it a name, it shows up here, which I don't want, right? So you give it a name, you turn it off, but the name is going to persist because every time you turn it on, the name is showing, and we need that name. So that's all you do on this. Then you go on the button. Right, I'm going to turn on, expand all of the categories. So this button, I want it to show submit. Let's just type submit in there. So come here, I say submit. Okay, so maybe this is what I wanted to show. And then, so what's interesting about this is that you go to the action, you turn it on. And when you go to type, you will see data function. If you don't see data function, don't panic. Go here. As long as you're on the recent editions of Power BI, this has been there for a while. So you have to really be on a very old version for you not to see it. You go to file, you go to options and settings, you go to options, it's gonna come up. Then you go to review features, you scroll to the bottom, and then you see this translytical task flow. Turn it on if it's not turned on. And that's it. So once you turn it on, it will tell you that you need to restart your Power BI for you to see the effect. Do that, okay? And then you'll be able to just make sure you save, you close Power BI, you open it again, then you'll be able to see data function as part of the options in your action uh, category. So I'm going to pick data function. So the moment I pick it, if you have not logged in, it's going to ask you to log in because that's how it's going to now go and read your Power BI account workspaces that you have access to, figure out which user data function you have access to. So in my own case now, I know I used a, a workspace called project. That's the one I used. And then once I pick it, I'll see all the functions in there. And in this case, I'm going to see even the one we just created. So let's say I start from there, I pick that one, and then I pick Toronto. And so the thing now is, where is he going to read the name from? Okay. So where is he going to get some of the things I need? So I want it to read the name that someone types in here, right? So I have to now say, read it from, can you see that this is now showing? I picked this. But if I had not done that step, you will be at this stage and you'll be like, How come I'm not seeing my input box? That has happened to me, and like, what am I getting wrong? I'm doing all the steps. It was just that naming of the box. That was all that I didn't do. So if I do this, right, and then I come in here and I say my name is, let's look for one of us in this meeting. So I say my name is Vera, and I go here and I click submit. Okay, let's see if I have not completed this. Yeah, format button. Yeah, that looks done. Okay, so let's try again. It's submit. Oh, I need to click outside. Haha. So usually it's faster than this, even though I'm using Fabric Trial. This is the first time I'm seeing it this slow. It's not this slow. So you will notice it's refreshing the entire table. That's another thing. This only works for direct query mode. So you have to really connect your data in direct query mode because that's the only way the data will always reflect. See, welcome to Fabric function. It's basically reflecting what we have in this code here. Where's the one we wrote? Here. Welcome to Fabric function, Vera this time. And if I use Calgary, you see that, if I go here and I switch it to the function called Calgary, and then I don't make the same mistake, make sure nothing is selected. Let's use someone else's name here again from one of us here. So let's say I pick Taiwo. Okay, and I hit submit. See, hi Taiwo from Calgary, and that's what we typed here, right? So it's not difficult. Everything is things you can do. This might be the part that some of us who are probably not used to Python or as your function might be like, you will need samples. And it's not difficult. You take my sample. If what you want to do is to write back to database, my sample is pretty much, you can use it, change your SQL query to what it should be, and you are done. Maybe add any other few things you want. But you don't want to be doing transformations here. That's why you have Power BI. So I don't expect you to be doing any really complex Python function because essentially what you want to do is just either connect to something outside, trigger like a write back, or trigger a workflow. Some people do this to go trigger a Power Automate workflow or a Azure Logic workflow. Some other people will do this to maybe read data from an API and take the data and push it into DB. So it's mostly just like a bridge. It's just like a connector you are using this query to call to build. So I don't expect you to be doing some elaborate code within this. And so don't be put off if you are one of those who Python is not your strong suite. It's not what you feel comfortable doing. It's just you could. This is a perfect place to just even use your Claude and Copilot and all of those your AI tools to write the query, the Python code, because they are going to be very simple Python codes you'll be writing. And you can always use the templates that already exist within the from Microsoft, and you just pick something that is already close to what you want, adjust it a bit. So uh, now that you've seen it work, I'm going to close this and open the one that is actually, you know, before I start doing all these changes so that we we now see exactly what I built that is directly hooked to this one that you're seeing the code. Okay, let's see. I'm hoping it doesn't ask me to log in again. Get by password prompt. Let's see if I still have the window open. the password, my phone. So any questions so far? Because I'm looking at the time and truthfully, this is the end. Once you do this, you publish. And then in the workspace that you publish to, people who are members and above can trigger the write back. People who are just viewers, they cannot. So maybe that's the only other thing I need to show. Okay. So right now I can come here, pick let's pick gross profits. Gross profits. And then I say blah blah blah. Okay, you already know how to do this because we've done it together, and then I click add comments and we should see the blah blah in this place. Blah 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 should show up here. Again, it's not usually this slow, but I'm not rich to have a very high-end fabric capacity. So you see it's already displayed, right? And I know I showed us a bit of what is happening here, but I can just mention what my final setup looks like. So the moment I pick insert comment, it detected that these are the variables it needs, so it needs this answers to this parameter. So what I did is I set up the metric ID to come from the ID field um, of the company metrics. So I pick the ID field and I say, not count, but it should pick. It could be average, it could be max, but there will always be one ID anyway. So I think I use max, right? So that's what I did to that. You already know these, this is the name of the box. If I go here, go to title and I click, you see that's the insert the comment. And that's really way this would be able to reference the the box. So that's why you see insert the comment. That's the name I gave this comment box. Or it's actually a text slicer. And then metric ID, similarly, I did the same thing. I kind of said, because it's a text, so I picked the metric and I said, use the first metric. Okay. Then for company name, the same thing, first company. So these are just things we all know. That's it. And then once you publish, so you save, you hit publish. And if you use source code, you probably use source code to permit the change. Whatever you do your publish process. It shows up here in the workspace. And then all you have to do, so it becomes easy for people to use. They can come here and like you saw me do. But the only thing is you need to ensure that, let's say I go back to the workspace. You need to ensure that the access level, that it's people who have, people who have, if they have viewer role, they cannot, if they try to type a comment and it's commit, nothing is going to happen because you only want specific people to be able to add this. You don't, I think it shouldn't be everybody because this persists. This is not just for you, your own view of the report. Everybody sees this. The moment you do this, it becomes in the DB, it becomes primary part of the primary data. So you probably only want a few designated people to be able to do that. And right now, the way Microsoft has fed that process is if you're an admin or a member, then you will um, naturally have access to commit, trigger the translytical function. But someone who is not, who is if you're a viewer and I think contributor, I'm not so sure you will need to go check that out. But I know viewer for sure, and I think contributor too cannot trigger the translytical process. So any questions so far? Because I'm at the end. Okay, Samson, I see your hands up. You can come off mute. So that's the beauty of today's
Okay.
session. Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yes,
Do you hear me?
yes, I do.
All right. First of all, thanks, Michael. This is so helpful. This is the first time joining your class.
Oh,
I
welcome.
follow you on LinkedIn, but it's the first time making the time to join. Yeah, I have a couple of questions. So,
Mm-hmm.
first question is, with the comment section, is it a way that could be like timestamp and also comments submitted by? This is the case. You share the report with any business users. We have about 20 guys trying to pass on comment. We want to know what time those comments were passed and whether it has been addressed or not. And then the comment who actually passed the comment.
Okay.
That's my first question.
Okay, good. So let's even do a bit of what you said. You want the time. Let's go here. So what time? It's just that I would need to probably create also a timestamp in the table. So, but I will for now just let you see that I can capture the time and I can, if I have the column within the table to insert it, I can do that. So I will for now just say at date time dot date time. I think dot now. Let me just verify. Yeah, that's correct. So if I save this and publish, we'll capture the data. But I know for you, it's probably more important to push it into the DB, capture it as a parameter, which we can do. Say timestamp. Then I would have. So I do this and then I expose it there. What's the other thing you said? Hey, the user who made that's a very interesting one. I've not explored it, but I'm guessing the same way in Power BI we could have access to user principal name. I'm guessing there will be a way to access user principal name. User principal name in Fabric. See if there is a way to get that, but not in Power Query Editor. We actually need it in the Python format. So
Yep.
I'm guessing there will be, because you're not going to be the first person having that need, and it already exists in Power BI. Just how it is exposed, to Power, to Translytical that I don't know yet. Okay, you wanted to say something too?
Yeah. Thanks. Probably I'll equally search to see if I can find that. But it's helpful. And then I heard you mention, maybe you've already answered it, but you said it works only in direct query mode, or it can work in
Yeah,
import as well.
no, for now, direct query mode.
Okay, because
If
I
I,
see you had a storage mixed mode, so I was kind of
oh no,
why is it working for you when
I don't
look
have
at
a
your
mixed mode.
storage mode. Your storage mode was showing a mix, so I was a bit confused.
I have to refresh this for it to show, but so if you go here, if I go, see, it says step cannot be shown because it's not in import mode.
Input. Yeah. That see. Go to the next. Go to the comments one. Let's see the
The same
company
thing.
comment.
See, storage mode,
That
direct
is correct.
query,
Yeah. Let's go
direct
to the next one.
query,
And the last one.
direct query.
All right.
These ones are where I have my functions. But
Okay.
the
The functions
functions
is
are, yeah, they are just functions. Oh, I get what you're saying. Okay, now it makes sense because I
Yeah.
created a table there. Okay, now I
hmm
see why it's saying mixed mode.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
But okay,
Okay.
that means it works also. But as far as the table that you are using for the Translytical, the
Comment.
right back is direct query, then it will work. So because I can see this is an import mode kind of storage.
Yep.
So
Yep.
yeah, I get you why you say it's mixed mode. Yes. That's a good one you've called out.
And my last question will be, must okay, what if how would I even put it? What if I don't must I necessarily create that lake house and or what if I have the data coming from, let's say, snowflakes? Can I write
You
back to snowflake server, or I just everything needs to be within fabric lake house?
It has to right now be within Fabric. You need to bring especially the table that the right back should go into.
Okay,
Has
so
to
that table
be,
can stay in the lake house, and then
yeah,
the
every
other
other
thing
thing
will
could be
other
somewhere
thing
else.
could be
Yeah.
okay. All right, appreciate that. Thank you
So
so
see the
much.
timestamp point with it is now reflecting.
Yep,
So it's just
awesome.
to save it back into the DB. That is the only thing. That one will take a lot of time, but at least we can capture it as a parameter, the variable. Okay, thanks. That's I like your questions. They are giving me a bit more ideas on how one can enrich this for user scenarios. Okay, anyone has got any other questions, comments, or suggestions? Okay, all right. So thanks. I know we are beyond time. I'll just quickly call out again that please register for next month's session. We have someone who is a data engineer who does a lot of AI where he works. You can even check out his LinkedIn. I think did I put it there? And it's going to take us through Copilot Studio, Azure AI Foundry. Even for me, I'm looking forward to the session because it's nice. It would be nice to see how other people are using these tools. I The things I've done are things that I did by myself in Copilot Studio and Azure AI Foundry. I've not even watched a single, proper tutorial on YouTube, or they are just from documentation and what I wanted to do and my knowledge from other tools. So this is going to give me an opportunity to see how someone else is building in the same platform. And obviously there will be things that I didn't think of or things that I'll be able to learn and using my own building work too. So yes, you should. I would say sign up, and if you are chanced, be there. If you are not chanced, watch out. Still sign up. What the benefit is that when the recording is out and I email the recording details, you will get the email. So sign up whether you are sure you will be there or not, as long as you are interested in the session. So thank you very, very much. Happy Thanksgiving again and a wonderful week ahead. And thanks for showing up on a holiday. So this recording, I think I'll try to make it out between tomorrow and Wednesday. I tired tonight. But thank you very much and have a great week ahead. Bye. Stop the recording.